Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Oxnard Planning Commission for Thursday, March 21, 2024. This meeting will come to order at 6 p.m. The public may view the meeting from home on the city's website, Spectrum Channel 10, Frontier Channel 35, or on the city's YouTube website. To participate in the meeting, the public may provide comments to the Planning Commission via email at planning@oxnard.org no later than 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or through the city's website at oxnard.org/city-meetings, or call the Planning Division office. Additionally, those wishing to speak can dial the phone number listed at the bottom of the screen, follow the instructions to access the meeting, and press star 9 to raise your hand, indicating your intention to speak on the agenda item being discussed. Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call?
Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Steve Nash?
Present.
Commissioner Zielsdorf?
Present.
Commissioner Scholke?
Present.
Vice Chair Dr. Stewart?
Here.
Chair Arejo?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Nash, will you kindly lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. The next agenda item is C, public comments on items not on the agenda. At this time, a person may address the Planning Commission on matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, including information consent items and any time not appearing on the agenda. The Planning Commission cannot take action on any item presented during public comments that is not on the agenda, and such item may only be referred to the Commission Secretary. Persons wishing to speak on public hearing items should do so at the time of the public hearing. Madam Secretary, are there any public comments for items not on the agenda?
No, Chair, there are no speakers.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The next agenda item is D, consent agenda. With none listed, we'll move on to ex parte declarations for public hearing items, Section E. Please state any ex parte declarations, if any. I'll go across the dais. Commissioner Nash.
None, thank you.
Commissioner Conley.
None, thank you, Chair.
Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
None, thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Zielsdorf.
None, thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Scholke.
None, thank you.
Thank you, and none for myself. The next item on the agenda is Section F, public hearing. Agenda item F1, project name 30, Morisco's Alcohol Special Use Permit, Planning and Zoning Permit number 23-510-01, property located at 606 North Ventura Road. A request to replace an existing license with Type 41 with a new license, Type 47, to authorize the sale of distilled spirits for on-site consumption within an existing restaurant of approximately 5727 square feet located at 606 North Ventura Road. The proposed hours of sales are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., Sunday through Saturday. The project is exempt from environmental review pursuant to Section 15301, Existing Facilities, Class 1 of CEQA Guidelines, filed by Francisco Lopez, business owner, on behalf of property owner, BGN Fremont Square Limited. City staff, Serena Gonzalez, assistant planner. Per previously approved standing rules, staff can provide a brief summary of the pre-recorded presentation in addition to other analysis at this time.
Good evening, Chair and members of.
I was just going to say, if Diego could pull up the slides.
There we go. Sorry. Okay, now, good evening, Chair Arejo and members of the Planning Commission. Today I will be presenting on alcohol special use permit number 23-510-01, which is a request to replace an existing alcohol license Type 41 with a new Type 47 license to authorize the sale of.
Excuse me, Commissioner Nash.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And I know this is something we wanted to do, but I had a chance to talk with our city manager, and when I explained to him what our intentions were as far as having the staff presentation given in public, he seemed to be vehemently opposed to that was going against the will of the people and whatever measure that is, measure H or measure M, whatever it is. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that, I don't want Alex to get too mad at us, but that is certainly the expression that, he certainly expressed his opinion to me in very strong terms. So whatever the will of the chair and the staff is, and I want the staff presentation given, but I don't want to go against the will of the people. So however you want to proceed, I'm fine with.
And if I may, I also had the same discussion and was told the same thing that you were told.
Thank you, Commissioner Nass, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. I will be pushing this off to City Attorney Mr. Zaragoza after a comment by Commissioner Schuelke, since Mr. Zaragoza, City Attorney.
Certainly. So while as Mr. Rosell said at the last meeting, the latest opinion that we have on Measure M is that we're not necessarily precluded from providing staff presentations. However, the city manager ultimately decides what the best use of staff time is. And if the best use of staff time is, to provide the pre-recorded presentation and not duplicate efforts at the live meeting, then that is a policy decision that has been made. If staff is prepared to give a brief overview of presentation or some of the highlights, that has been done at other meetings. We could go forward with something like that while we get further direction prior to the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Zaragoza. I'll go to Commissioner Nash if he has any comments, and I have a recommendation of mine.
No, I'm more than happy to follow our legal counsel's direction in this.
Okay, so then just a summary? All right, then I'll keep it brief.
Thank you. Please continue.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please wait, Ms. Gonzalez. Commissioner Schuelke.
Well, thank you. I just want to be clear because it doesn't sound like it is a legal concern, that this is not a violation of Measure M, but can be a managerial decision from the city manager. And if so, has he indicated one other than to the commissioners privately?
No, so I have not had that conversation, so I couldn't answer that question directly in the affirmative. But what I can say is that, again, the use of staff time, that is completely a decision that is up to the city manager. It's not a legal decision.
But it's not a violation of Measure M to provide these in person.
So Measure M does not preclude staff from providing the presentation. Whether or not that meets the spirit of what the intent of the law was, that's a different question. And if staff is already putting in efforts to do the presentations ahead of time, again, it would be a duplication of efforts to do those live. But that's not a call for me to make.
Of course.
That's a call for whoever's in charge of staff and the best use of staff time to make.
Yes, and then just one suggestion, if I may. It occurs to me that these videos having already been made, perhaps if one of the interests in having in-person presentations given as well is for members of the public to be able to be informed as to what's being presented, the video could just be replayed at these commission meetings. It just struck me that might be a way of making both parties.
It could be. I don't want to get into a detailed discussion on, an issue like this, on something that's not an agendized item. I would say, again, I think some middle ground where the staff gives a high kind of overview as opposed to the full presentation. I think for tonight would be good to get us through the meeting, and then we'll have further direction before the next Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Schuelke and Mr. Zaragoza. At this time, if there's no objection, we'll go on with a high-level analysis from these meetings, since that's what the commission did approve of the last meeting, and we can probably go into a further discussion on this. If there's no objection, we'll continue on as we thought, and we'll have a separate item for discussion for the next meeting. Seeing and hearing no discussion, Ms. Gonzalez, if you could provide your high-level analysis, and we'll continue with the agenda item at this time. Thank you.
So the planning staff, along with PD, found that the change of license types would not cause any extra issues or pose any impact onto the surrounding area. The beat coordinator said that there isn't a high crime rate or any undue concentration of alcohol outlets in the area. So for that reason, the planning staff recommends approval on this permit. If there are any other questions or any other clarification points that you want me to go through, I'm happy to go with that.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We'll wait until there is a presentation by the applicant. And if the applicant is here at this time, they have 15 minutes to present. Seeing no applicant, either in person or online, we will go to the
They
commission.
should be online.
If the applicant is online on Zoom, if you could press *9 or raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to speak.
I know that they didn't have any additional, but they are here in case you have any specific questions for them.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. And the person on Zoom land is Mr. Garcia, it looks like. Okay. Yeah, if you could please Ms. Garcia, apologies. If you'd like to introduce yourself or anything else, you have 15 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. So I am connected. To be honest, I wasn't ready for any presentation. I wasn't aware that we had a presentation. But any question? I mean, we've had our restaurant here with this license with the beer and wine for about 10 years now, and we have our staff. We train them pretty well. We are pretty strict with not getting any of our customers too drunk. We're pretty we constantly have meetings with our staff about that. They're all licensed with the current up to date with the certificates for alcohol management, and we just we're pretty responsible. And any questions if you'd like to ask? I don't know what else we need to speak about.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. That's it for right now. At this time, we'll have members ask questions of either the applicant or staff. Please just make sure who you're directing your question to and commission. Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
Okay. Well, I'll yield to Commissioner Nash, and then I'll go.
I saw you first. I'll get him second. Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
Oh, okay. All right. I think it's, I read through the packet, and the actual location's been there since, 2003. And I remember back in the day when I was in patrol, I don't ever remember having to go there for any issues. So I think it's the same owner, and he's done a great job, and I really don't have any problems with this. The current license they've had since, 2015, I think it was. And so I don't have any issues, but I do have some curiosity questions. With this license, I noticed, and I don't remember this in the past, and that is that if you buy alcohol in there, you can then transport it out. And so I'm just trying to understand that, because to me, that's open container.
Yes, there.
We've actually. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. Garcia. I think he was directing it at me. He was looking at me, so that's what you missed.
Okay.
Commissioner Stewart, I think it's kind of a little known ABC regulation, but for type 41 and 47 licenses, generally speaking, there are provisions for allowing taking alcohol to go. Imagine being in a Italian restaurant that serves you a bottle of wine, and you and your partner just have one drink out of it, and there's a half a bottle left. If they can professionally seal it, it's good to go. So, but there are some containers that just don't facilitate that, good to go standard. So it's not a carte blanche. Now, if we write an alcohol SUP where we specifically don't want them to have alcohol to go, we will say that, and then our laws would prevail.
All right. And the next question I had was on your responsible beverage servers training. I know that back in the day, Oxnard PD did it, and how does that work today?
We've kind of morphed that training for a number of reasons. Back around 2017, we got word that the state was trying to get ABC to be basically the lead universal standard for providing that training. Oxnard, it's my understanding, was kind of the premier. We kind of led the way when Mothers Against Drunk Driving led their cause and got responsible beverage service training as a issue to have cities and counties address the DUI issues. And that issue with the state kept pending to the next year, the next year, the next year. And we had our traffic unit providing training periodically, and we'd set up training sessions until the Ventura fire came through. And we had several training sessions during that period of time, and our trainers were tied up assisting our neighboring agencies. So we ended up trying a new option, and that was we found a nonprofit that was willing to provide the training, and they did that for a couple of years. However, they went out of business during COVID. Well, during COVID, it came around that ABC was authorized by the state to provide the training, and so we basically run it the way we do, either ABC or another training that is authorized by the chief of police.
Right. And then I just have one last remark. Nothing against for this permit at all, because I'm impressed with the record as far as alcohol goes. But I do know that over there by where over in that same general area, we've had a few checkpoints. And then the checkpoints are usually at areas where we've had DUI, arrest, or accidents. And so I'm trying to just, in my mind, is there some other establishment there that's had problems, or why is that area flagged in particular? Is there an issue over there? But it doesn't show in the crime stats or anything.
Yeah, there's a number of things that will cause a DUI checkpoint to be in a particular place. Part of it is the design and layout of the street. Part of it is what nearby businesses might be generators or other main travel paths through the city. And of course, Ventura Road is a main travel path through the city. And so it's going to occasionally get a checkpoint, whether there's a generator nearby or not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair. Two questions for staff. The first one for our compliance officer. Do these conditions, are they continuing to evolve, or have we reached a point where where the police department is pretty much satisfied with what we see in the staff report?
They are an evolving tool. If we end up seeing a business dodging the rules one way or another, sometimes we have to do some rewrites or add another condition. As an example, we found a business that was operating up until 2 p.m. They were selling food until about that time, but their food server, that is somebody who's got a permit from the county, wasn't present. And we thought, you know what, we need to have that a condition. Although we could cite under the county ordinance for it, it'd be much better to use it as a leverage point on our alcohol SUP. And so we've added that when you're serving food, you need to have a permitted food server.
Okay, great. I'm happy to hear that it's always, we're always moving forward to get a more better set of regulations. So my next question is for Ms. Gonzalez, and thank you for the presentation. And this is for the benefit of our newer members, and we've talked about this before, but it was really brought home when I was watching the city council talk about the Levitt's U-Haul project. and how you really have to be conscious, whatever the body is, whether it's the planning commission or the city council or whoever, that when you approve a special use permit, that goes with the property. And so you really have to have your thinking cap on to consider, well, what might the future hold? And that's always a very iffy game. But you want to be really aware that what you're approving today, if the property gets sold, that special use permit goes with the property. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or.
I don't really have anything to add unless you had any specific questions that I could help answer. But I think that you summed it up pretty well. Unless Scott, Mr. Swenson has something.
Just if I was wrong in anything that I said.
No, you're very accurate. There's a couple things that you kind of need to know. When we draft the conditions, as an example, we oftentimes get the applicant saying, well, we'll only be open till 8 on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and we just block out the time. We figure out an early time and a late time that we're willing to go to. And most of them for restaurants, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning till 11, even though that business didn't ask for that. Because we're looking to the future, we may get another restaurant in there that wants to have mimosas on Sundays. So we try to think those things ahead. The other thing is if we end up having like a business like this one, and they stop using their alcohol service, and like they go out of business, and alcohol is not served there for more than 6 months, there's a provision in the city ordinance that if a new business wants to go in there, they will have to go through this process. So if there's no break in alcohol service, then the new business inherits that alcohol SUP.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Connolly.
I have some comments that I'll save to the end, but I do have a question for Mr. Swenson. Is the fact that there is a bar in such close proximity, like within walking or throwing a rock distance to this liquor store establishment, at all an issue?
I don't believe so. And there's a number of places in the city where we have a mix of types of uses. And this is in line with the city ordinance that covers concentration. They are not like type businesses. One's a restaurant that's very family oriented. The other one is a bar. And not too far away, there was the Rite Aid, pharmacy that is now closed, and they have a few more months before their alcohol situation changes. But it allows for those kind of things.
Perfect. Thank you for your clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Connolly. Vice Chair, Dr. Stewart.
Yes, I guess I was thinking the same thing Commissioner Nash was thinking, but I was going back to 2003 when they first approved it, and here we are 21 years later, and it's still going strong with no major issues. But I did have a question kind of related to that. Every time they do a change or an upgrade, it's an opportunity to impose the new conditions. Now, probably for Ms. Garcia, was there any need to do any changes, or did you have to do anything to meet these new requirements, or was everything already in place because of the 2015 change?
There have been some changes since 2015, and they're just learning experiences that we've had in the enforcement and compliance world that we've had some aha moments where we said, well, we need to make that a standard condition because we don't want to get caught behind that again. So.
Okay, just interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. Is there anyone else from the commission at this time? Seeing no further questions, Madam Secretary, is there any public comment?
No, Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. Are there any closing remarks from staff?
Sorry, Chair Reho, actually just kind of quickly going back to Nash's question regarding the SUP, I did just want to clarify that that provision which allows for the alcohol SUPs to expire after 6 months of not being used is specific to the alcohol permits. So that does not apply to other special use permits in the city. So those could potentially last much longer without being used. It is just the alcohol ones that automatically expire after 6 months. So just to make that clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Quick question, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart?
Yes, so my understanding in reading this is that if there's a major problem, the chief of police can revoke their permit or their SUP and then have a hearing?
There is a due process involved. We have not had such a circumstance, at least in the last decade or two. But I can tell you in the 90s, we did have a couple of incidences where there was a need to close down for just public disorder issues, a business for a chilling period of time, and then have a hearing to address that. I don't know if the hearing was ever done or whatever, but the times are now different. I don't know whether anybody else on city staff might want to comment on that, but it hasn't been used, to my knowledge.
All right, so it's just it's a tool that's there, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. If there's no other quick questions from the commission, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to deliberation. Commission. Commissioner Nash.
So we're in the deliberation part, or questions? I'm sorry.
We're on to deliberation, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. So, just a couple of things. This is what I would consider to be smack dab in the middle of a residential area, especially with the development of the Teal Club project. So again, I hearken back to my earlier comments that we really have to consider, well, what would be the worst outcome by granting this SUP. I don't necessarily have a problem currently, and I don't think it would ever be allowed to, I'll say, degrade to a, wild adult-only bar, because that's just not permitted. So I think at this point I'm more than happy to support this this proposal.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Any others from the commission? Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
Yes, I too can support this. And when I thought about the project, they are encircled now by residents to the east. Across the Ventura Road, there's a whole housing development over there. Just beyond the end of the shopping center, there's everything north and south. So they already are surrounded. Teal Club will add to that number, but, they're already surrounded by housing, and it seems like things are responsible. So I too can support this, but I did think about that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. Is there anyone else from the commission? Some comments from myself. I think one of the main things when I look at these alcohol permits is the crime rate of the location and near around, and seeing no concerns from all the people interviewed or who gave a report, police, neighborhood chair, other businesses, area residents. I think we can be in a little bit better footing even if it's within the residential area, or that could be a benefit because it's just within the residential area. So when the motion comes before us, I can see myself approving it also. Any other deliberation from the commission at this time? If there's no other deliberation, the motion is in order. Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
I'll move the motion to approve the recommended action.
It has been moved by Vice Chair Dr. Stewart to find the project to be categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, existing facilities, and adopt Resolution 2024-XX approving planning and zoning permit number 23-510-01, special use permit alcohol subject to certain findings and conditions. Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Nash.
Thank you. Is there any deliberation on the motion before us? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, can we have the roll call, please?
Chair Dr. Stewart.
Yes.
Chair Nash.
Aye.
Chair Connolly.
Quick
Excuse me,
question.
Commissioner
It's okay.
Connolly.
Quick question. If I'm undecided, can I abstain, or do I have to just have a reason to abstain?
It is the opinion of the chair that you can vote aye, no, abstain, or present.
Okay, abstain, thank you.
Commissioner Zielsdorf.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholke.
Aye.
Chair Arejo.
Aye.
This motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll move on to our next project, F2, 4 Property Development Agreement Amendment, Planning and Zoning Permit Number 24-670-01, Development Agreement Amendment, property located at 2750 North Ventura Road. A request for a development agreement amendment to remove a section of the agreement regarding the acquisition of a service road from Caltrans as the road is no longer a part of the development. The project is exempt from the CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15060C2 and 15061B3 filed by River Park Apartments Owner LLC, City Staff Daniel Hoke, Associate Planner. Per our previously made rules, we can have a brief summary or analysis at this time. Mr. Hoke.
Thank you, Chair. I will sum this up very briefly. It is pretty straightforward. There is no physical development as a part of this project. It is related to what is proposed there is a separate project that has been already approved. It's 333 units. What this is that the property has a development agreement on it, and we are doing an amendment on that agreement. This is the third amendment to that agreement. And the only thing we are amending is the removal of Section 5, which mandates a maintenance agreement with the city for a service road that the city was going to acquire. Due to the state level of Caltrans not approving that acquisition, this has become now a non-relevant section as we processed a minor mod to reformat the project and have a service road supplied on the property. So this is really essentially just a cleaning up the development agreement by removing that section. And that is all from me, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hook. We'll have the applicant present at this time if there is any. Oh. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. At this time, members may ask questions of either the applicant or staff. Commission, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Any others from the commission at this time? Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Daniel, for the presentation. So, bearing in mind that the Planning Commission determines that this is in the best interest and welfare of the city and its residents, the applicant is not asking for anything else, no reduction in development fees, no changes to, because I recall reading something somewhere in the agenda packet that it mentioned the pedestrian and bicycle master plan, but that didn't involve, this doesn't involve any changes in that. And I can't give you the exact place where I saw it, but I just remember seeing it mentioned. So I just want to make sure that there's no. I don't know if a bicycle path was planned for the access road, and now that's being given up because we don't have the road.
Commissioner Nash, so in regards to other changes, there's no other changes being proposed. That access road was not intended for a bike path. There is that existing overpass that the bike path that goes over the freeway, if you're going over the river there, or sorry, over the river, not the freeway. So that path is there, and that's maintained by Caltrans, so that's staying as is. So there's no other changes other than the removal of this requirement that would have required them to enter into an agreement with the city to maintain that road, as Caltrans ultimately decided that they didn't want to transfer it over to the city.
Just a point of curiosity, why did Caltrans go against its previous position? If you want to share that, I don't.
That's a interesting question. We were going through the process, the local office, and I'm sure the applicant can also weigh in as well if he would like to, but we were going through it with the local office, but ultimately once it got to the state level, apparently there wasn't communication happening there, and so the state level decided to kind of go against the local office and decided not to do that transfer. But
yeah, there was one person in Caltrans in Sacramento that didn't like it. I think it was one person in Caltrans legal. All of the way Caltrans works is very convoluted, but District 7, which oversees LA and Ventura County, every single department signed off on it. Every single department in Caltrans Sacramento signed off on it, but one person. And for the way Caltrans works, that's enough to squash something. So after 3.5 years of everyone being on board, it was, okay, now we have to switch things.
Commissioner, before you continue, your name, sir?
Oh, sorry, Jonathan Cornelius, 675 Glen Annie, Santa Barbara, California.
Your name is fine, thank you so much.
Caltrans probably felt like they were giving up a piece of their empire, so.
And the city used to own it. It literally has transferred 3 times. It's gone from Caltrans to city, back to Caltrans, and this was literally just gonna put it back to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
That's all, thank you.
So did I misread, or do I understand that because Caltrans took theirs or never really gave it to us, we had to develop our own road? And so that's in place for fire and so forth. Is that my understanding?
I can answer to that.
Probably come to the mic if you want, if you can, please. So just want the public to be able to hear you.
Vice Chair Stewart,
okay.
I can answer that.
Oh, okay, great.
So to address that issue with the loss of the access road or the non-acquisition of it, the project went through a minor modification where essentially the building was compressed. It still maintained the same amount of units, but with the compression of the building, an access road was able to be fit around the perimeter of the property, and that's been approved.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. Anyone else from the commission at this time? A couple of questions for myself. For staff, can Caltrans change their mind in the future? And if they did so, would the city or the applicant want to get that property back for maintenance purposes for an extra road?
Chair Rejo, at this time, given that the project has been redesigned to accommodate it on site, there wouldn't be a need for it from a city standpoint at this time. So we wouldn't move forward with that because, again, there wouldn't be that maintenance agreement also in place. So then in that scenario, the city would also then have to take responsibility for the maintenance of that road. So at this time, likelihood is that no, we would not want to take that road.
Got it. So if I can clarify that even if Caltrans happened to change their mind, the city wouldn't want it because they already changed, and also the applicant, the permit, and they just wouldn't take ownership of it anymore, correct?
Yeah, and
it wouldn't be in their interests.
Speak to this project. So there might be other needs, unforeseen needs at some point in the future that might necessitate taking the road. But at this point in time, as it relates to this project, no, we would no longer need the access road.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Any others from the commission at this time? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
Chair Arejo, there are none.
Thank you very much. Are there any closing remarks from staff?
I have none, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. We'll move on to deliberation. Commissioner Conley.
Forgive me if I misremember, but I feel like we worked on this project, right? Like it's been a lot of years coming. So it's just wanted to commend staff for cleaning up the proposal and moving things forward on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Connolly. Any others on the commission at this time? Seeing and hearing none, motion is in order. Commissioner Connolly?
Chair, I'll move the staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay. It has been moved by Commissioner Nash to find the project exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15061B3 and section 15378B5 and adopt resolution 2024-XX recommending city council approval of planning and zoning permit number 24-670-01, third amendment to development agreement number A-7113 for the 4 properties subject to certain findings. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Connolly. Any deliberation on the motion before us? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Nash?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Zielsdorf?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholke?
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Stewart?
Aye.
Chair Arejo?
Aye.
This motion passes.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item section H, study session reports. At this time, can I just have a brief comment on why it's not, I know that we already talked, but just for the commission and the public.
So commissioners, at the last meeting, we had discussed bringing back the items for discussion in terms of future items that would come back to the commission. So we were going to bring back kind of a list of items for the commission to vote on to bring back. However, our typical attorney, Ken Roselle, is out on vacation this week, so wanting him to be here for that discussion, we determined that it would be best to push that to our next meeting. So we'll be coming back before you guys on the meeting on April 4th, I believe. So again, just to allow all staff to basically be here since Ken was part of that initial discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
Yes, just looking at study sessions. And, one that comes to mind is, my questions today about alcohol. And I'm wondering if we, and I don't know what commissioners also want, but, it would be nice, especially since we've, go through these and it's still, early, if we could have some study sessions, kind of bone up on some areas, because for alcohol, things have changed, and I was involved and sat on the commission beforehand, and it's a different world now. And so, maybe it's time to start educating on that. And the other thing I was wondering, when are we going to start the 2040 plan?
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. I'll comment briefly on the study session, and I'll put it over to Mr. Pearson in regards to the 2040 plan. In regards to the study session, at our next meeting, I assume that we're going to be voting on whether we should go into having study sessions for the rest of the year. And at that time in the motion, we can decide at that motion or at a later time to decide on the topics. So I think we'll have a further discussion / deliberation on whether to have it, and if we do, how many, and if how many, what topics and when. So I'll push it over to Mr. Pearson in regards to 2040 plan.
So Vice Chair Dr. Stewart, if you could let me know, when you say 2040 plan, are you referring to the general plan?
Yes, the general plan.
So I would have to go back. That's being handled by our long-range team. I know they're working on the LCP right now, and I believe the general plan is going to follow up that process. But I can go check with our long-range planning manager, Ms. Mallory, and maybe send an email out to the commission and let you guys know we're bringing it up at our next meeting in terms of what the timeline would be for that.
Okay, because I just said it because I remember working on the 2030 plan. And even though we have lots of time still, we'll be 2025 before you know it. And, it'll probably be popping up soon. So just thinking about it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know the conversations have started, so it is in process.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. If there's no other questions on that limited item, we'll move on to Section I, Planning Commission business. Is there any business to report from the Planning Commission? Commissioner Connolly.
I have a staff question. Would this be the correct or wait till?
we'll wait till
Staff
the
updates.
very next section
Okay.
for that. Thank you, Commissioner Conley. Any others from the commission? At this time, I'll do a little, as my previous chair said, that it's our time to say a little something. So I pulled a Katie. Katie brought in her mother, her daughter, someone in real estate. I finally pulled in my mother, Emmy Arwejo there in the back. Hi, thank you. And I also calculated that now she joins her husband, my dad, in living in Oxnard for the majority of her life this upcoming year. So I really appreciate everything that she's done for me before Planning Commission and during now and for the future for many years to come. So thank you very much. Oops. Appreciate the enthusiasm from Planning Commission, and I encourage, we have our families. I told Commissioner Scholke that he was very saddened to not make his first meeting, but at least in my opinion, make your family first, then work, and then Planning Commission. We have a great set of 7 commissioners to do the work for the city. So please keep that in mind and appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Chair,
Commissioner Nash.
did you tell your mom to sit way in the back like that?
She didn't want to catch herself on video, so I told her that would be the ideal spot. So no, she wanted. I kind of dragged her in, so I appreciate her coming in. I waited for a small meeting for her to come, so thank you. Thank you for that. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to Section J, Community Development Staff Update. I'll go first with Commissioner Conley with a question.
So a question for staff. I heard in passing in another meeting that I was in this week that there is going to be a housing element update on Monday. And forgive me for not just looking at the website, which I could have, but I also thought if that was the case, I would love to have that announced here and hopefully be well attended. Did I take your thunder? Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Conley. We'll go to Mr. Pearson first and any follow-up questions after that.
So thank you, Commissioner Conley, for bringing it up. There is it's a annual housing element workshop. So they're not actually doing updates, but they're essentially kind of presenting progress that has been made towards implementing the housing element to the community and kind of getting input from the community on kind of other updates and things that they would like to see. So that's what's happening, and that's going to be happening on March 25th, Monday. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. It's going to be held here in the council chamber, so it can be in person, or there is a virtual link that you can use to sign up. I believe it's posted on the city's website, so you should be able to find the Zoom link and meeting information there. But again, it will be in person as well, so anybody interested can also come here during that time frame if they would like to hear more about what the city has done, as well as if they would like to provide any feedback. So if any of the commissioners are interested, I would just ask that you guys let us know if you're going to be attending, just so that we can make sure that there's not a quorum that's going to be here, or there's no Brown Act violations.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Pearson. I forgot about that in regards to attendance. If you know already right now, you can let them know or let Mr. Pearson or Planning Commission staff know by Monday. I'll be there in person myself. Just any others from the commission if you know now. If not, okay. Vice Chair Dr. Stewart, Commissioner Connolly. Does it matter if it's Zoom or in person, or it's only Brown Act related if it's in person? Mr. Zaragoza.
So for this one, it may meet the community meetings exception, and then as such, we would advise you not to sit together at all. If and so if somebody's attending via Zoom, then they wouldn't be in the room with others.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Zaragoza. Okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Pearson?
Yeah, so also just want to note that you guys should have received the draft mitigated negative declaration for the Lockwood 3 project. It's the third of the projects. The first 2 did come before the commission previously. They're both under construction right now. You might see them off the freeway over off of Outlet Center Drive. They're the 2 senior housing projects, 100% affordable senior housing projects that are happening over there by the outlets. But the Lockwood 3 project would ultimately come before the commission, but just wanted to let you guys know, and I put you on the list if anybody's interested in taking a look at that document at this point in time. I also did want to note, it's Nash mentioned earlier that the U-Haul project did go to city council and was ultimately approved, so that project will be moving forward with some changes. Again, they made some changes to screen the rental area, so there's going to be kind of like a faux facade to try to, again, improve the aesthetic of that project as much as possible, since that is a major corridor entryway into the city. And then the last thing that I want to mention was on Tuesday, we did take the annual housing report, or the general plan annual report, which kind of did talk a little bit about some of the developments and things that have been ongoing in the city. I'm not sure if anybody has had a chance to take a look at that, but I did just want to maybe highlight the kind of building permit activity. So there's about 254 new planning entitlements approved last year, or in 2023, about 641 building permits approved for new units, and then 372 certificates of occupancy last year as well. So, as we're trying to meet that RENA number of over, I think it's 8,549. We still have a long way to go, but again, the progress is being made. But I would just advise anybody who hasn't had a chance to look at that to take a look at it, just because again, it kind of summarizes development that's ongoing in the city and kind of what has occurred over the last year.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Vice Chair Dr. Stewart.
Quick question for you. Is there an apartment complex being developed or going to be built on Ives over there by Rose and the Statham area? Just a little bit north of South Oxnard Boulevard before you get to Rose and, Oxnard College is down the way. And I think there's a Starbucks going in now, and across the street is Clinica's hospital that they built, or clinic that they built.
So yes, in that area, there's the Starbucks, which again, that also came before the commission, as well as the other kind of speculative pad there. There is a proposal for an apartment project directly, I guess, next to the Starbucks. That is still going through the process. That is a special use permit. So ultimately, again, that would also come before the commission once it is ready to move forward. But it is still proposed at this point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dr. Stewart. If there's no other questions from the commission, we'll go to adjournment. Since there is no further business, the meeting will be adjourned if there is no objection. Seeing and hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all and good night. Thank you. Yay.